Hi, Caitlin. Welcome back. It's so great to see you here for your third session. How have you been since the last time we talked?
Hey, it's great to see you too. I've been okay. I guess I could be a little bit better.
How could you be better?
Well, I just feel like I've been having some low self-confidence, some sad feelings about myself recently that, I wish I didn't feel this way, but I just feel like I haven't been myself.
Can you tell me a little bit about these feelings that you're having about yourself that aren't so great?
Yeah, I don't know. I start to get really down on myself and I get in my head a lot about everything, whether it's, talking to my friends or talking to my family or just being out in public. I feel like I just get really insecure and I just start to hate myself, kind of.
So, when you say you're in your head and feeling these insecurities, what kind of thoughts are you having?
I guess the thoughts I'm having is like, I'm not good enough and, I could, I guess, look different and sound different and just overall be a better person, and that nobody actually really likes me. They're just talking to me to be nice. It's not like they actually want to talk to me.
That sounds like a really draining way to feel.
Yeah, it I feel like this a lot of the time, and it just actually came out a little bit more over the last couple of weeks because of the situation that happened. And yeah.
Would you like to tell me a little bit more about the situation that's causing you to feel this way?
Yeah, I can talk about it. I So probably about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I forget at this point. Um, I was having uh my birthday party. I I haven't had a I don't celebrate my birthday really. I haven't really celebrated it with friends in over 7 years, just because I didn't like the whole process of inviting people and then if they thinking are they actually going to come or not. But this year, for some reason, I decided that I wanted to have a birthday party with my friends because I usually just go out with family. And whenever I invited all these people that I still actively talk to, um, I invited 12 people to my birthday. So we were going to go to a karaoke place together. And of the 12 people that I invited, only three of them showed up. And the only other person, the person that was included in that three was my boyfriend, which was a given because, he obviously is going to show up. So realistically, only two of my friends showed up. And it just kind of felt shitty because, I feel like I do a lot for my friends and I'm never, you know, I never get the benefit of what I give out to people, kind of.
I'm really sorry you had to go through that. That sounds very upsetting. I am glad, however, that your boyfriend seems to be a very consistent person in your life that's always there for you. Did you talk to your friends about maybe reasons they had for not being able to make it?
Yeah, so that's probably what was I guess that's what made me get in my head the most and make me really insecure and feel weird. It was probably I probably went about a week and a half without saying anything to them just because I don't like conflict or I also don't it's uncomfortable when you're in a situation with conflict, especially with your friends. But I eventually reached out to some of them. The one friend I had a hard time with, I met her about 2 years ago at this point. We were working together in retail for a couple of years and we started hanging out and we got really close. Um, she goes to college in another state, and when I reached out to her about the situation, I just kind of felt hurt because when she told me why she couldn't come to the karaoke place, it kind of upset me. She said that she picked up a shift when she knew she was coming to the karaoke place at the same time that we were going out. So it just kind of hurt to hear that, she knew she was invited. She said she was coming, yet she still went out of her way to pick up a shift on the night of the karaoke bar.
Yeah, I can see you're a little bit angry at her, and I can understand why. I also heard you say that you don't really like confrontation that much. But if that friend that you're talking about was here right now, what would you say to her?
I would probably just try to communicate to her that, I don't think she understood what I was saying. I feel like sometimes I have a hard time articulating and communicating what I want to say because I get so insecure and in my head about what I'm saying. I feel like I would just tell her that I was upset because, you know, she doesn't live here. She lives in New Jersey right now. Um, I expected her to come because she told me 2 weeks in advance that she'd be able to come. I would let her know that I just feel like she was putting more importance over working than over spending time with me since I never see her anymore because she's always away.
Yeah, that's a really tough situation. I do want to go back a little bit to what we were talking about self-esteem because I really think that this relationship you have with your boyfriend is extremely important. And it seems like he was able to be there for you on your birthday. So I want to ask you, if your boyfriend was here, what good qualities do you think that he would state about you?
Probably be a lot because I feel like sometimes he just tells me what I want to hear, but it just made me giggle because he does that every time we're together and I get in my head about things. So I feel like he always gives me the example of how we're not in high school anymore and you don't have to be friends with somebody just because you're in the same school together. Now it's like, okay, talk and I make everybody known and I make it known that I care about what they have to say whenever they're talking to me. That's what I can remember right now, what he said to me.
You actually cut out for a minute, so I only got the very end of what you just said. I'm really sorry to ask you to repeat it.
Oh, that's okay. What did you hear last?
Just the very last couple words.
Okay. So what I was saying is that he would tell me that I'm like a very attentive person when it comes to like my friends or even just strangers, like that I'm always listening to them and that I am always there to make them know that like I care about them because I'm listening to what they have to say. And he would just say that I'm just like an overall like caring and kind person.
Good. I'm glad. I'm sure it helps you feel a little bit better thinking about those good qualities that someone that you're close to and love sees that you have. And from you saying that those are things you believe he would say, makes me think about the fact that it seems like you might be putting expectations that you think about yourself or that you have built up onto other people and hoping that they live up to those expectations.
Yeah, it's just like with the friend who, picked up a shift and everything when she told me she was coming. She told me that she had no money because she's at school. So that's why I didn't say anything till a week and a half like after the fact because I don't feel that it's right for me to say that, oh, my feelings are hurt that you didn't come to my celebration when you need money. But then that's also the thing is that when her birthday was back in August, I was going through like a really rough time because I was switching between jobs right outside of college and I actually had $0 in my bank account. It was a really terrible time for me. And we were supposed to go to the casino for this friend's birthday and I told her I would come even though I was broke. And I did go. And my boyfriend ended up lending me $20 so that we could play the slots together and stuff and still have fun. And I guess it just kind of hurt because, I somehow tried to make it work that I could show up to her celebration with $0 and I'm starting to pay student loans back and I have no money at the time. So I guess it just hurt that I didn't feel she put that much importance on our friendship like I put on our friendship, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like you were doing a lot for her and she just wasn't really returning that favor.
I would agree. It just feels like, and then whenever that stuff like that happens, my immediate response is to just like isolate from people, and not even just like, this kind of sucks to say, but not just isolate from the person that hurt me in some way, but I just kind of like disconnect from everybody around me typically.
Why do you think that you pull away from everyone and not just the one person that you're having a problem with at the time?
I think that's maybe because I start to really get in my head, and I get really insecure. So whenever one person, like a close friend, did me wrong in some way, I guess, or, upset me, I start to get in my head, well, okay, if that one person doesn't really care about me and see me as an important person in their life, then I must not be that great of a person. So then that's when I start to just like pull away from everybody. And I'm just like, well, everybody must not like me if, I screw up all the time or whatever.
That's a really harsh way to feel. It seems like you put really high standards on yourself.
I would say so.
Do you think that you look at other people in your life, these friends and your boyfriend, with these harsh standards that you see on yourself?
No, I feel like I give my friends like more, I guess, like leeway with stuff. Like I feel like I'm like so hard on myself, but then if they were like in the same situation that I was in my mind I'd have like a ton of excuses and like, oh, like, like this is fine, like this is, they reacted that way because of this, or they're allowed to react that way. Where with me it's like, oh, you shouldn't really react that way. You should just, not be upset, keep to yourself. Nobody cares what you think or what you feel.
So tell me why. Tell me more about why you feel that way about yourself.
um I don't know. It's like, I guess growing up, I didn't like the idea of like taking up space, I guess. Like when I go into like at my current job and just in like general in my daily life, I try to like not take up space by being like super quiet with where I go. So for example, like I was walking into the one class with my student the one morning, and she walked in before me because she has to go in independently. And when I got there, I kind of just like slipped in really quietly and just did not want to draw any attention to myself so that nobody would see me or like look at me. I just kind of like not take up that space, almost be like invisible, I guess.
So this conversation is reminding me of our last session when we talked a little bit about that spotlight effect feeling you had in the cafeteria. What scares you about people looking at you or seeing you?
I just feel like they're gonna immediately judge me, like physically, or probably just physically, I guess. Like they're gonna judge me, maybe like what I'm wearing, what I look like, what my hair is like, if my face is red because it gets red all the time. Like I just get in my head that, you know, immediately when people look at me, they're gonna look at me and be like, "Oh God, what is that?" Like, ew.
It seems like you have a really negative internal dialogue going on with yourself most of the time throughout the day.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's not a fun place to live since I'm in this all the time in my head.
Do you experience these thoughts all day, every day, or do they fade sometimes?
I would say about maybe like 90% of my day in my head consists of me with my negative self-talk. I don't ever think it's really that positive for me, ever.
So 90% of your day is the negative self-talk. Can you tell me a little bit more about this 10%?
I guess the 10% is just me paying no mind to it. I just kind of try, like, when I can catch myself starting to be a little negative, that's when I'm just like, sometimes in that 10%, I'm just like, okay, like, stop harping on this. Like, it's not going to change anything. But then, like, 90% of the time, I'm just like, if I screw up, I'm like, oh my God, I screwed up. Like, I'm so stupid. Or, oh my God, I did it today. Like, I was having a conversation with one of the students and I said something that I just thought sounded like really stupid. And I'm just like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm an idiot. And I just beat myself up about it the rest of the day.
It seems like you have the tendency to catastrophize some minor things that happen.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of like the little things that happen, I tend to make them a bigger deal.
Is this across multiple situations, friends, family, and work, or do you see it happening more in specific areas?
I feel like it's across the board because when I think about like a situation where I said something dumb in front of my family, they end up they typically end up just like guilting me, making me feel bad for something that I said. So I'm just like, oh God, like not only was I already feeling like crap because I'd said something, that was probably stupid or shouldn't have been said, but now they're guilting me, making me feel bad about it. Or if like I screw up when I'm talking and they make fun of me for it, I'm just like, all right, well, I was already judging myself in my head, so now all of you are just confirming is going on in my brain.
I'm sure you've experienced others messing up when they talk in conversations with you, correct?
Yeah,
And how would you say you feel when they mess up?
I feel bad for them when they mess up. I feel like because when I screw up, that like sometimes like people call me out on it as like a joke, and like, yeah, it's a joke. But when other people do it, I feel like I typically don't make fun of them for it. Like, okay, you messed up. I'll correct them and help them out. I'll be like, oh, you meant this. You're trying to say that. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. But I don't go, haha, you idiot. Fuck you. You're stupid.
Um, in these situations when these people are messing up, I'm sure you're not thinking of them harshly or thinking they're stupid, though.
No, I don't think that they're stupid.
But when you do it, you think others think you're stupid.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So all of the negative self-talk is definitely directed at the self and not others. One thing you said prior did stick out to me. At first, you mentioned growing up, but then you quickly switched to the workplace. So I just wanted to ask you about these negative feelings while you were growing up and how young were you when you started experiencing them?
Um, I guess it's kind of hard to recall like my first memory or something of like an incident where I felt um like I was stupid or something, but I would just say like maybe I don't know, a lot of the times I just didn't have like that confidence growing up, and I don't know if it was any one person who was causing me to feel that way or if it was just like a bunch of experiences put together that, built up in my brain, and I'm just like, "Oh, like yeah, you're stupid. You're not a great person," and all that stuff. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Tell me a little bit about when you said experiences, which experiences stuck out for you?
Um Probably say like probably like with my dad a little bit, cuz him and I didn't have like the best relationship growing up. I mean, my parents are divorced. They got divorced on my 13th birthday. And I I just remember him always like making me feel like I wasn't like as smart as my brother growing up. So it was always kind of, I guess I kind of just believed it. Like my brother's life was like more important than mine because, you know, he was smarter and all that stuff, even though we could have maybe been the same intelligence level. I just believed that I wasn't as smart as him because of how my dad made me feel.
So you're taking your dad's words and letting them affect you still to this day, these words that he said back before you were 13, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, we have like a better relationship now. Like I like actively talk to him and I know he's regretful for everything that happened. Um, because he was like an alcoholic and everything, so it just was a really bad time growing up. But it's even like today, like I was probably like it was like 2 months ago maybe. We went to his house. It was like my brother and I, and my brother has a full-time job and I'm in grad school like getting my master's, but yet my dad was still like actively more interested in his my brother's life than what I was doing, even though I was still in school. So it just
How
felt
does that make you
weird.
feel that you're working towards a master's degree right now and you work full time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yet he
Just
still is putting more praise on your brother.
yeah, that's what it felt like. It made me feel like really like inferior. Like here I am working a full-time job and doing classes full time, yet my brother's only working a job and my dad's like so much more interested in what is going on with his life. So it just makes me feel like I'm just inferior and I'm just like not going to be enough ever to be that interesting.
So you said inferior twice.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that. What's going on for you when you're speaking about yourself, saying inferior?
I guess I would say like inferior for me is like not measuring up to maybe whoever it is that not like that I'm competing with, but that's like being compared to me. So like I feel inferior to my brother because he has this full-time job and he's like a microbiologist. But here I am, I'm in school full time, I'm working full time, and I work with special needs kids too. So like that's a whole another level of like toughness in the job. And I still feel like the inferior feeling is like no matter how much I do or like what I do, it's just it'll never be enough or measure up to what he's doing.
In the eyes of your dad.
Yeah.
That's one thing I do want to say is that you have to remind yourself that the eyes of your dad are not what it means in the grand scheme of things.
I guess it just kind of sucks whenever like we're over there cuz like obviously my brother and I go over there together and it's kind of hard for us to like avoid going over there together since we both want to see our dad. But I asked my brother not to come to my birthday dinner with my dad just so that I could like have that time to talk with him and for him to actually inquire about my life for once.
That's really tough that you had to do that.
I didn't want to because I love my brother so much, but it just kind of felt like if I didn't do that, like then I wouldn't really get to tell my dad like what's going on in my life because he's always asking about him.
Have you tried to bring this issue up with your dad?
Yeah, and it kind of went like it didn't really go that good, I guess.
What did you try saying?
I just expressed to him how I feel like I said I just feel like he never cares about what I'm doing or what I have to say. And he made the excuse that he never sees my brother, and I said, well, he's seen you more than I've seen you recently, because my brother just got a girlfriend who lives out near my dad's, so he stays at my dad's house sometimes as like a middle way to not have to drive all the way home. So he's been seeing my dad a lot more than I have. So he was like, well, I don't see your brother enough. And I'm like, well, you see him more than I see you right now. So it kind of sucks that, even though you see him more, you're still, inquiring about his life more when we're hanging out, the both of us. And he made the excuse that he doesn't see my brother as much, and that's why he doesn't ask me about my life, because he's asking him, because he finally gets to see him. And that's when I called him out, and I was just like, but you do see him like a lot now, and I don't see you that much now. So it's like, why can't you just equally inquire about both of our lives and not have to just choose one over the other? Like, it shouldn't be like that.
It seems like
It
he
just,
was really invalidating your feelings in that situation.
yeah, I feel like my dad is typically like that. I don't know if it's intentional. I mean, he had a stroke 5 years ago, so he's like really terrible at communicating right now. He used to like, he was a salesman, so he was really good at communicating. And ever since he had a stroke, he just has a really hard time putting his thoughts to words. So I just don't want to get too hard on him, because, it's like, I don't think he has the means anymore to communicate effectively like he used to.
And your comfortable resort is to then put those feelings back on yourself.
And just not talk about them at all either.
So you said that you don't really like to talk about things when they start to bother you. And then earlier in the session, you had mentioned that it took you about a week and a half to confront your friend that had upset you on your birthday. So why do you think that is, that you're not very open to talking about things that upset you?
I just don't like that my I don't like thinking that my feelings are that important. Like, I feel like it even sounds selfish talking about how they didn't show up on my birthday. Like, now when I think about it, and I thought about it this way in the moment, I was like, oh, my birthday. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's just my birthday. So I feel like the reason why I don't like saying things is because I don't want to make it such a big deal, because I don't think it's that important, even though I was hurt by them not coming. I just don't like that when I talk about my feelings, that, I don't want people to feel bad. Like, I don't like making people feel bad. I would rather just hold everything inside of me and not have to hurt somebody else and make them feel bad because they made me feel bad.
Holding everything inside sounds like it weighs heavy on you.
Yeah, it does. I don't like to, like, if somebody upsets me. I mean, it took me a week and a half to say something because I was upset that entire time. I just would rather me be upset than my friends be upset.
Why do you think that is?
Um, I don't know if it's like self-guilt or something, but I just don't like the idea of me making somebody upset. Like, I don't want to be the reason. Well, number one, I don't want to be the reason why they're upset. But number two, it's really complicated and it's hard to say.
Well, if I can interrupt you, we started this specific conversation a moment ago by talking about what your dad had, how he made you feel, and how your friend on your birthday made you feel. But now it seems like you've turned it around and you're talking about how you are going to make others feel bad.
Yeah, like, I don't like the idea of making others feel bad just because I'm upset, is what I mean. Like, I would rather them never know that I was upset, because then that means I'll never make them feel bad or upset about what they did.
And it seems like you're you make excuses for them, but to yourself. That way you're not upset with them, even though they did do something to hurt your feelings.
Yeah, it's kind of like I make those excuses so that I don't have to actually acknowledge the fact that, okay, I'm upset. I should probably say something because I'm upset with them.
But it's okay to be upset, and it's okay to tell them that you're upset and tell them about things that they're doing to make you feel that way.
It's like in my brain, I can side with that and say, yeah, it's okay to let other people know you're upset if they like hurt you. But then when the situation comes, I'm just like, I always make up some excuses to why I shouldn't tell them why I'm upset.
So tell me more about that moment when you decide that it's not a good idea to tell them that you're upset.
I feel like I just would rather keep the peace. Like, I feel like a lot of the times, like, I am a very emotional person, but then I have that, like, little bit of me that's very, like, logical as well. Like, I think about, like, the consequences to, like, my actions or the consequences of me if I say something or whatever. So when it comes to coming to that, uh, when it comes to making that decision whether or not to tell somebody that they hurt my feelings or they upset me, a lot of the times the emotional side is going to win of the, well, you're upset, but now you're going to make other people upset just because you're upset. And I I feel like my feelings aren't that important that I should be upset. Almost like I should just deal with it. Like this is something I kind of like deserve. It's just to be upset. Like it doesn't matter.
You said something that you deserve. So what's going on for you in your mind that you feel like that's something you deserve?
I guess that's maybe where like the low self-esteem and the low self-confidence I have in myself. I feel like I'm like really self-aware in how I feel, and a lot of the time I believe it. So I guess just because I feel so low about myself and I just don't feel good enough as a person, that's where that comes in.
So you said that you're pretty self-aware. Have you done anything to try to help yourself fight this negative self-talk?
Uh, Sometimes, I mean, I was in this class last semester. It was like experiential group process, and we actually had to write. Um, we did. The professor gave us like a note card, and he stuck it to your back, and then the members of the class had to like write, like an adjective to describe you on your back. So sometimes when I feel myself engaging in like that negative self talk, I have it posted on my mirror actually still from last semester because I was blown away that people actually wrote things like that about me on my back because I didn't believe any single one of those words that they wrote until I really stopped and thought about it a bit that maybe they weren't just saying it to be nice. And sometimes when I feel myself engaging in like that negative self-talk, I just think back to that card on my mirror and like everything that says on there, and I just kind of tell myself that I can't be that terrible of a person if people, willingly wrote those nice things on my back.
Share with me some of those words that are written on the card.
So, the one I really like says empath. I feel like I'm definitely an empath. I always feel like really bad for people, and I feel like I put myself in like their shoes a lot. The one I really liked was self-aware. Somebody wrote self-aware, and I think that one resonated with me a lot because I do feel like I'm pretty self-aware. Um, there's genuine, humorous, friendly, courageous, considerate. I feel like I'm always considerate of other people's feelings. That's why I typically don't like to say why I'm upset because I just want to consider how they'll feel if I tell them that I'm upset. And then there's one that says open. I like
Which
that.
right
That's
now
cute.
you're being very open.
Yeah, I feel like right now I'm being very open. And in that class I feel like I was kind of open, but I would say maybe outside of class, like I could be kind of closed off with like the people I love and care about. So that one was very nice to see. Yeah. But all of those adjectives on there, I just think about those a lot because I think that's the first time I actually took like a step back and like evaluated, well, maybe these things might be true about me then.
It was really nice watching you read that card. You had a giant smile on your face, and you also were explaining the words how they pertain to you as you listed them off. So, going back to the self aware, and you saying earlier about how you felt that you're negative 90% of the time, it seems like you're able to see some of those descriptive words towards you and able to recognize that they are true.
Yeah, I yeah, I just feel like sometimes I'm more negative on myself than I should. Like I'm more hard on myself and have that negative self talk more than I should. But it's like when I look at those words, like some of them, a lot of them, I feel actually like I could like somehow like see that in myself a little bit. As much as I want to act like, oh no, that's they're just doing that to be nice. Sometimes I really look at it and I'm just like, well, they might actually be true.
I'm sure it feels good to see that other people are seeing you that way.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a bit ago that you feel like you're being open now. You felt like you were being open in your experiential group process class, but that you feel closed off to those that you're closest to.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I feel like with like I consider the people like the students, I consider them my friends that I had in that class. I loved all of them. They were all so welcoming, and when I opened up about stuff, like it was they made me feel not insecure about opening up about hard things. So like I feel like even though they're my friends and I consider them my friends and they're great people, I just feel like it's easier for me to kind of put on like a front with them as opposed to like somebody I hang out with constantly. In other words, like my mom, I live with her. My boyfriend sees me a lot. We talk a lot. He's known me for 3.5 years now. My brother can tell when I'm acting different because he has been with me my whole life. So I feel like it's harder for me to put on that I'm okay front with them because they know my authentic self. Where with like friends from school, I just met everybody last semester. So they don't know like the deepest, darkest parts of me like my family and my boyfriend does. I feel like that's maybe why it's hard for me to be open with them because I know that they know that something's wrong and I'm just like, well, I don't really want to talk about this. It just kind of makes me feel uncomfortable, I guess.
It sounds like you feel very uncomfortable being vulnerable or exposed.
That's the perfect word, actually. That's kind of what I was trying to get to. So thanks for that.
So, you said you've been dating your boyfriend for what, 3 years?
3.5 years, yeah.
3.5 years? That's a long time. But you're still
Yeah.
having some difficulty opening up even when you're upset.
Yeah. It kind of like that's something else that makes our relationship really difficult. It's literally just me and I feel really bad because I I get so insecure and uncomfortable that he actually cares about me and wants to know what's wrong. I feel like in my last relationship, I dated my last boyfriend for 3 years. And I just felt like in that relationship, I was so used to just giving him the good and happy parts about myself that I could never open up and be my true self when I was feeling upset. Like I just had to bury those feelings. And with my current boyfriend, he makes me feel like I'm able to open up about these things, but it's like I know like in my logic part of my brain, I'm just like, yeah, you can open up, it's fine. But then on the emotional side, I'm just like, I don't really want to talk about it because it feels so uncomfortable to talk about.
Yeah, you're hesitant because in the past when you opened up, you didn't get the feedback that you thought you would get.
Yeah.
So it seems like our time today is coming to a close. We covered a lot today. We talked about you feeling inferior, which is a common thing that we've seen with the relationship with your dad and in your friend group. A lot of what we talked about today was focused on how you feel about yourself, the negative self talk. And I think a good short term goal for just this week, from this session to next session, have you ever heard of positive affirmations?
Yeah, I just don't know much about them. I've heard of them though.
So it's a very small and simple technique, which is why I'll just have you try it for a week. Do you have access to just sticky notes, post-it notes?
Yeah.
So sometime tonight, if you have any free time, I just want you to get out some sticky notes, maybe let's say 10 to 15, 20 if you're feeling crazy. And I want you to really think about them, the things that you truly love about yourself, the good qualities. I want you to write some of them down on those sticky notes. And in the mirror that you get ready in, I want you to stick those on there. And for the next 7 days, when you get ready, I don't want you to just move them out of your way and straighten your hair. Really look at them, think about them, and let that sit for your morning routine. And then go into your day. And we'll talk a little bit about if that helped, if it didn't help, next week.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Well, I'll see you this time next week then.
Thank you. I'll see ya. Bye.
Thank you.